Sikkim 365 and Baylor Plus have teamed up to bring Baylor fans the ultimate content bundle. You can sign up now for $17.99 a month, a $5 monthly savings, and get instant access to all premium content on both websites. For more information, visit either Sikkim365.com or BaylorPlus.com today.
What up, what up? Welcome on in to a bonus edition of Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. I'm Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill for our 2024 cross-country season preview show. We'll be joined later on in the show by Baylor head cross-country coach David Barnett. But Jerry, first, let's begin by saying the obvious. It's cross-country season, and if you drive into work early enough, sometimes you'll see the team out running, practicing. Cross country, though, as a whole, is a sport that really, takes full commitment. And I'll say it for myself, it's definitely not for everyone.
I would agree with you. And we can get into that later if you want. But a high school varsity letterman in cross country back in the day at Arlington High School I guess would have been 1978 when I actually lettered, but that's been a few years, But yes, it does take a lot of commitment, Justin, and like you said, there's not a whole lot of people out there watching you. You're kind of on your own, and particularly when you're training and stuff, you're just out there, whether it's, in a park, on the golf course, out on the road running, you're really by yourself, and it's on you. It's not a thing where, the team can rally you or whatever. You're out there running on your own. And particularly in my case, where I was running toward the back of the pack, I was definitely on my own when I was running.
Way back out there in the back.
Way back.
Yeah, like parking at a convenience store.
They were like putting up the stuff already. They thought the race was over, and then, here's one more runner coming.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting the picture. You're painting it well.
Yeah. I'm painting it very vividly.
Yeah, and I'll say too, for cross country, I'll say some of our student athletes here, man, give them a lot of credit. Yep. They're self-starters, and I think if they can take this sport and translate it into life after sport, life after college, you can be really successful because, as you said, Jerry, I mean, you're out there by yourself. No one's pushing you. You don't have a coach, a helmet on with somebody telling you to run harder. You have to do it yourself. So these are really self-starters, and some of the hardest working athletes we have on campus come from cross country.
Yeah, and you think about it, they're running so much, it's not even in their season, but in the summer, they're putting miles upon miles, just out there training, trying to get ready for the season. But this is long before the season even starts. So they're really putting in the miles. They're trying to get ready. And they, as much as they can in a meet, they're going to pack together. And that's a little bit how you're going to be more like a team, is if you can pack together and keep that group together, kind of push each other as you're going. But that's hard to do once the race starts, because, it's all from, the gun goes off and you're racing and you're kind of looking around to see who's with you. But that's the best way, is if you can pack together and kind of push each other as you go.
Jerry, I'm a big NASCAR fan. I don't think this works, though, here. The drafting is not really a thing at these. You're not going high speeds here, but are you in 78 and then here in 2024, is there conversation going on? Are you pushing some of the runners in there? Are you talking? And probably no drafting, right?
Very little drafting. There's a little bit of that on the track, in maybe some of the, you would see it in the longer races, like the 10,000 meters, 5,000 meters. You are kind of, letting somebody else go out and kind of running off them. So, they're taking it, and you're just kind of literally drafting off of them and waiting for your moment to go. But yeah, there's a little bit of that, but probably not as much in NASCAR. And there's not any, I don't know. I didn't have a slingshot type mentality in me, but that's kind of the ideal, is when you've kind of paced yourself, you're running behind somebody, and then you just kind of wait for your moment, maybe the last in terms of cross country, maybe the last 800 meters or so, you're really kind of, getting into gear and trying to finish.
I have seen, though, with the Olympics, sometimes you see some elbows, right? You have to work your spot, especially in track, obviously with the lanes, and maybe less of it here. But what about the communication piece? Are you talking if you're in those packs? Is there conversations there? Because usually the coach is held up at certain spots and they're, cheering them on. But for the most part, as you said, you're out by yourself unless you're in that pack.
The problem with talking and communicating like that, particularly as you're running, is you're expending energy. So you're not going to do a lot of that in the race. It might be, a little bit of like if you're coming up on a pack of runners and it's your group, you're going to be, hey, let's go, let's pick it up, that kind of thing. But there's not going to be a whole lot of, hey, let's just talk back and forth, because you can't expend that amount of energy in the middle of a 3 or 4 mile race. So there won't be as much communication, and it may be even more just making eye contact or just a couple of words. Let's go, let's pick it up, that kind of thing. But not a lot of communicating in the race.
We are now joined by Baylor head cross country coach David Barnett. Coach, getting set for your 4th season at Baylor. Your team features 12 newcomers, 11 being freshmen, and 1 grad transfer. Tell us about your 2024 roster.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting roster. There's been a lot of energy at practice. New people coming in is always exciting. I think we have a lot of quality upperclassmen as well that are kind of showing them the ropes and whatnot and making it as positive and smooth of an experience as possible from the jump. Like on the women's side, we're going to have 2 freshmen that are really going to have a big impact. Probably Ruth Camelli, who came in January, but she's a freshman for cross country. And then Ella Perry coming in from the Harker Heights area. Those are a couple of the freshmen that are going to really be big for us this fall. And then on the men's side, we just have a lot of really quality guys. One of our local guys from Midway High School, Jack Sterrett's going to be one of our top 3 guys, I would imagine. And then one of our grad transfers coming in, Nick Riscosi from University of Wisconsin. So a lot of new faces, some good energy, but fortunately we have some upperclassmen to balance with that and show them the way, and it's going to be an exciting group.
I know we're going to get into the training schedule, which can include some really early hours, and that's why I never did cross country. Jerry, on the other hand, did do some cross country. We'll hear more about that later in the show. But your team opens its 2024 season this Friday at the UIW Twilight in San Antonio. Last season, the women won this meet. It's the first non-dual meet win since 2018 for the women last year. What are your expectations for this meet ahead on Friday?
The biggest thing is just focus on competing because, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, it's kind of warm weather right now to run super fast times, and people are coming in and different places in their training off of the summer. But if we can compete well, it's going to be really exciting. Just like in any sport, like in football, they always talk about they get tired of hitting each other in preseason practice and they're ready to hit somebody else. We're ready to race and kind of see where we match up with some other teams. We have some mid-major schools there, some Power 5 schools there. So it'll be a nice little beginning to the season. So I'm excited to see, especially some of the newcomers. A lot of them will have a chance to kind of get their feet wet.
David, you mentioned the UIW Twilight. Hayden Gold was a silver medalist at that. Best finish again for a female in like 5 or 6 years. She's coming back. What do you expect from her? And that was a great start to last year, but what are you expecting from her?
Hayden's actually not going to race this weekend. We're going to give her a little bit of time to kind of get her legs under her because it's going to be a long season, and she's someone that we know we're going to be counting on at the back end of the season. So Hayden's doing great. Hayden's a great team leader for us, but I think she's going to have a great season. So I'm excited to see Hayden down the road race for us.
Obviously, a lot of changes in the Big 12. 4 new teams last year, 4 more this year. If I remember right, Colorado has always been kind of a distance power, cross-country power. Utah, maybe 2. What do you think about the new teams coming in and making this league even stronger?
I think it's exciting. At the end of the day, you want to be in a conference where it feels like if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And anytime I've had people that are championship-type runners or teams, it always starts at the conference level. So I'm excited because, new faces, new climates, it's just going to be cool to mix it up. And at this point with the landscape of the NCAA, it's really important that you have a strong conference. And I think that what the new teams are bringing in, especially from a distance standpoint, it's going to be really, really exciting.
talk a little bit about the summer routine for cross country. I know you guys put in a lot of miles. What does that look like, and how much? Because I'm guessing they're kind of on their own. But what what does a summer routine look like for your runners?
Yeah, I mean, basically after their track season ends, which varies depending on the person, they take a couple weeks off just to recover mentally, physically, emotionally, and then they start building up little by little. They probably start at about 50% of their max mileage, and we try just to increase it a few miles every week. You know, if I can get them close to their 100% of mileage by the beginning of July, then we have about 6 to 8 weeks before the first meet to really kind of work on some workouts and kind of see where they go from there. But everyone's different. You know, some people have like different travel plans. Some people have jobs. Some people have summer school. Some people don't. So we have to be flexible. But at the end of the day, everyone's doing the same thing, but everyone's doing something a little bit different. So, but if I can get them at a pretty good place, first or second week of July, then I feel like we have time to kind of get ready for the first race.
I believe you welcome in 12 newcomers, including 11 freshmen. What are you expecting from that group? You had mentioned the midway runner before, but kind of what are you expecting from that group as a whole?
I just expect them to come in and compete. Like I told them all, do not wait till your junior or senior year to be a leader on the team. I want you to go out there and compete for one of the top spots. Because at the end of the day, our sport's very straightforward, and we don't have favorites here. And if you're one of the top runners, you're going to go to the Big 12 championship. And if you're one of the top runners, you're going to go to the regional meet, and then it goes from there. So I'm excited. I think they all have bought into that. I think they all want to be in the top five. I think they all want to contribute. And I've told them all, it's up to you, but my expectation is for you to be competing for those top five, top seven spots. And they're responding well to it. So it's been a lot of fun at practice, kind of seeing them mix it up with the returners.
Yeah, are you going to take a good look at them, I guess, particularly this weekend, in this opening meet, just to kind of see where they are?
Yeah, especially since they're racing shorter distances this weekend. The women will do a 4K and the men will do a 6K. I think it's easier to focus on competing when you're not worried about finishing. And I think anytime the newcomers are doing a new distance and it's longer than they're used to, in the back of their mind, they might be thinking about, I want to make sure I finish. When the reality is we need you focusing on competing, So I think they're really going to mix it up and go for it. So, and especially since I'm not taking all of the returners to the meet, it'll give them a chance to kind of see how they look, So now I'm excited to see how they perform.
And speaking of the returners, do you have some specific or ones maybe that have stepped up in terms of leaders of the group and maybe even, front of the pack type runners? Do you have those runners in mind yet?
Yeah, I think, Drew Stoddard, when he's healthy, he's definitely our top guy. He was all region 2 years ago, and he had a little bit of a hiccup health-wise last year, but he's back training and doing well, and he's going to keep getting better every week. So I think Drew Stoddard would definitely be our top guy. Another guy would probably be Devin Duran from San Antonio originally. He's been getting better and better, and, a lot of the stuff goes unseen until over the summer, but he's been looking good. And yeah, those are probably the top two guys. On the women's side, as far as returners, Hayden Gold, you mentioned, to be one of our top returners. Kate Bonnie had a really good season 2 years ago and, ended up redshirting last year, but she's back and she's been in our top three in all the workouts. So those would be some of the top returners off the top of my head, but I think we have 3 or 4 or 5 people that are really mixing it up, and it's been really a lot of fun to watch.
Coach, getting excited here. We have soccer already underway, volleyball this weekend, your 2 teams underway, football gets underway. It's about that time of the season. We look at your schedule, and of course, a lot of visits to College Station this year, but there's one in particular on November 1st, the Big 12 Championship right here in the 254 Cottonwood Creek Golf Course. How excited are you for that opportunity to host the Big 12s?
I'm super excited. I mean, my first season here, we were asked if we wanted to host, and Coach Ford and I didn't hesitate. We thought it'd be a great idea. Whenever you get people, our sport's one of those sports where people don't get to see what you do super often. And, the more that we can make it relevant and people understand what we're doing, we want to bring that attention to Waco. I think in general, Baylor does a tremendous job at hosting championships. And, we want to keep that momentum going. And the golf course has just been awesome to work with, and it's a fair course. It's a challenging course in some ways. And there's just a lot of history out there, like even going back to when I think Coach Harbour set up that course maybe 20 years ago, and it's the same course. So a lot of history out there back when even Colorado was in the conference the first time around, So it's very cool to be able to keep that going, keep that tradition going. And then, again, the conference gets so tough that if you can make it at the Big 12 meet, then you're going to make it at the regional meet and be going to the national meet. So now it's just really cool. So I'm looking forward to it.
Last one for you. Really appreciate your time. Something that you hear in track and distance running and just different sports, heck, even in the basketballs and the hardwood, peaking at the right time, right? You're late August here. This is a 2.5 month season. How do you handle that from August to September to October, November to get to your best at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think the main thing is when they get in, we just have to have some honest conversations about where they currently are in their training. I look at the end of the season and then I work backwards from there. So, I kind of have to be honest with myself also where they are. I mean, basically, I want everyone to run 3 to 4 races if at all possible. And if someone's going to be racing at the end of the season, then the regional meet and the conference meet will count as 2 of those races, and then we'll kind of mix in a couple others. And then the people that have to prove themselves, they need to be ready a little bit sooner. They need to be ready that first weekend, the second weekend, things like that. So, but just listen to their bodies. I mean, the people that are returners are a lot easier just because you've already worked with them and kind of their ups and downs, and they probably feel more comfortable kind of being honest with you on how they're feeling on a day-to-day basis. The freshmen can be a little bit of a challenge, but that's why in general I don't change their mileage, their weekly mileage as a freshman. And but we just kind of so the younger folks have to be ready sooner. The returners you have a little bit more time to kind of work with, but it's a balancing act, but it's fun. And you get to have a lot of good conversations with the athletes. And by and large, if you tell them how they're feeling, ask them how they're feeling, they'll tell you. So my job is to be ready to listen and put together put together a plan based on what they tell me.
Well, Coach, we're looking forward to the season getting underway, and best of luck all fall.
Thank you so much.
David, I kept thinking where you were talking about, if I can make it here, I kept thinking you were going to break into the Frank Sinatra song. If I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. I was waiting to hear that song, man.
I know. It's true, though. It's true. It's nice because honestly, when you get to that point, and I was talking to Ruth about this because Ruth came in January. I coached her sister at Auburn, and she was an SEC champion and the national champion when I was coaching her. And it was always nice at conference because you see these folks as the same people that you see down the road, the same people you beat. And it's the same way for us with these schools coming in and the current schools. If you can beat them at conference, they're going to recognize you too, So it's nice to kind of get that out of the way and kind of, it's better to know where you stand and be able to make corrections if you need to than be wondering what kind of shape you're in. So it's pretty cool.
All righty.
Because I don't want to be wondering either. I don't want to be wondering either when we get to those meets where we stack up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's all good.
Yeah. Hey, you can put Jerry to work. Have him run some of those hills at Cottonwood. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, well, it's complicated. We have to find the right timing on top of it. So I'm not going to put him on the spot like that. So,
thank you, David. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So it's all good. So there's a lot of people counting on Jerry. So I don't. I
appreciate that. Good luck. Good luck Friday.
All right. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you all later.
Yeah, the big takeaway there, and really for the season, when you look up and down, is the fact that cross country is hosting the Big 12s. And so, obviously, track hosted back in the spring of 2024. And so getting this really an honor. And heck, there's so many teams now. We'll see how this rotates. A lot of times, a lot of schools get the opportunity to host. So it could be a while before we get to host again. But really an opportunity of a lifetime for these runners to be able to do this in front of their family, in front of their friends here in Waco, Texas.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the few times in their collegiate career where they're going to have a good number of their, fellow students, family, friends there actually cheering them on and stuff. Cross country is very isolated. You usually don't have a lot of people cheering for you. You might hear your coach a couple of times along the way, but it's really isolated. So this is a great chance and a good chance for their, fellow students to come out and cheer for them. Because again, you don't get that many opportunities to do that either. So that's going to be kind of fun, having it here. We used to be in a rotation where we hosted the regional quite a bit. I'd like to get back to that. But yeah, that's always cool when you get to host a big meet like that.
San Antonio this weekend, and then Texas A&M in mid-September, then to Columbia, Missouri into September, and then mid-October back to College Station, and then on November 1st, the Big 12 Championship, the lone home race and home meet for the Baylor Bears in cross country in 2024. Then you have the South Central Regional back to College Station, the NCAA Championship this year is in Madison, Wisconsin. So going up north, where, you know, a lot of some of that running, it takes place. That's going to be cold up there. Good grief. Late November. Sometimes it's cold in Texas in late November. You think about some of those football games, but it's going to be cold up there for sure. And Jerry, let's finish this out with your days. So we learned some sports science earlier. The more you talk, the more energy you expend. And you know I like to talk, so I would not be good running because I try to be talking to you the whole time, slowing us both down. And I don't want to be seen in the back 40 with you way at the end of the race. I don't want to finish dead last. But your days, and hey, as covering cross country for many years, really as the Baylor historian, I'm sure you running and being involved in cross country has helped your coverage as well.
I think so. I mean, it helps when you have, you know, even if it's not like, you know, in high school or college level, if you've done it at some level, if you've, you know, competed or whatever, I do think it helps your coverage. It helps you maybe know the sport a little better. Like I never played soccer, so I really had to learn as I went along with that one, and didn't even see really any soccer till I got down here. And obviously Baylor added the sport in '96. So I've been kind of learning as I go in soccer. But yeah, cross country, you know it a little better because I did run. I didn't run very fast, but I did run through my high school years, starting with my sophomore year at Arlington High School and running through my senior year in '78. So, and here was my highlight, Justin. I know you'll appreciate this. So I did get a varsity letter. My coach, Gerald Ritchie, love the man. He's passed, but he ran me just in 2 varsity meets because that was kind of like the minimum requirement. You didn't have to place or anything. You didn't have to do a certain, you know, you didn't have to score points or anything like that. You just had to run in 2 varsity meets. And I got a letter jacket for those 2 meets. And I was forever thankful to Coach Ritchie for putting me in those. And I did not fare well. I may not have been last, but I was toward the very, very back of the pack. But here's my highlight. And I'm still proud of this. I know it was as a senior. I wasn't even sure if this was like right, but I was running for the JV team as a senior, and I finished 8th in the district JV meet and got a nice big trophy. Still have that trophy. So that was the highlight. One of the highlights of my sports career is finishing 8th in that JV district cross country meet as a senior.
Okay. Whoa. We got to bring some entertainment on these, but 8th place. This first off, what high school is this? We need to know that.
This was Arlington High School, and we did have a really good track/cross country program. John Sauerhaig, who is still the UTA head coach, he was a year behind me. Was never behind me in a race, but he was a year behind me in school. But we had several runners that were really good. Cameron Bird that ran at Rice. Bob Payne that ran for the U.S. Army, the Army Academy. So we did have some pretty good runners back then. But yeah, I did not have a very distinguished career. One more highlight, if you don't mind. So Cameron Bird, I mentioned. Carrie Bird, his sister, was in my class, and she was like a state qualifier in the 800 and mile, I believe. So this was kind of in that era where you had the Battle of the Sexes. And I ran against Carrie on the Arlington High School track in an 800, and Cameron was actually coaching me. Her older brother was helping coach me, and the strategy was go out fast and just hold on, and that's what I did. And I did hold on and beat state qualifier Carrie Bird in an 800-meter race. And I can tell you for sure, there were very few people cheering for me. There were a lot of people cheering for Carrie Bird.
The stories. Jerry's got all kinds of stories. Did not know we were going to necessarily go here. I will say, by the way, 8th place trophy. You know how I feel about this?
Yeah.
So 1 to 10's getting trophies?
Top 10. Right? Top 10 got trophies. Now, I will say, Justin, there were 12 people in the race. There was probably 50, 60 runners because, you know, it was a district meet. So probably eight teams and each team has, you know, 5 to 7 runners. So it was a pretty good field. And I finished 8th. And I think, if I remember right, I think there were maybe a couple other seniors that were on that JV team, but I think one of them was like a football player that was just running for, kind of his distance work. But yeah, 8th place in district, junior varsity.
I don't like participation trophies.
I know you don't.
But you sold me on it. Okay, you turned me there, and you earned that trophy. And I expect to see that in your office for one of these podcasts in the future. We need to show that. So if you're proud of that, bring it on the show. But hey, looking forward to the cross country season. It all gets underway on Friday down in San Antonio, the Classics Elite Soccer Complex, the UIW Twilight. So looking forward to that. You can stay tuned to BaylorBears.com and also follow us, Baylor Track, on social media for the latest coverage of Baylor cross country. That'll do it for this bonus edition of Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Listen wherever you get your podcast. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff, and Sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears.